What's up, guys? Welcome back to the review space, and today we count down the top 10 Pokemon characters of all time. Let's do this! Alrighty. So, let us begin. Let us count down the top 10 Pokemon characters, and this is going to be the top 10, the actual Pokemon characters themselves, the creatures. So, let's count it down. Number 10. Arcanine. Oh, well, Arcanine is a very powerful evolved form, and it is actually a pure form, actually. It is type Fire, and it is quite literally the legendary Pokemon. That's what it is described as in the Pokedex. And it basically is a kind of like a dog type of canine character, but it's got all these kind of frilly things, and it just has a very majestic look. It's a very cool looking Pokemon, and it's very powerful. It's got a really high physical attack. It does a lot of damage, and it's very fast as well. It's got a move called Extreme Speed, and it's one of the very highly collectible type of character too. It's highly sought after, and it can only evolve from a Growlithe, which is kind of a little puppy dog type of character, if you give it a Firestone. So Arcanine is definitely one of the best characters. Alright, number 9. Clefairy. Alright, well, Clefairy is definitely one of the best characters. It is one of those cute type of Pokemon, and it was introduced very early in the series. In one of the earliest episodes of Pokemon. It was a very, small type of character, very small, cutesy, almost like a happy-go-lucky type of character, and it's very... The fact that it's so memorable is, after all these years, people still talk about Clefairy because it is a very memorable, cutesy, adorable type of character. And the thing with Clefairy too is that, unlike some of these other, base form, beginning, kind of I guess baby form type of characters, it's not overwhelmingly cute. It's not sickeningly adorable. It's got the right amount of cuteness. It's got the right amount of that adorable factor to it. And at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's shoved down our throats, compared to some of the other characters. And it's also, unlike a character like Jigglypuff, where Jigglypuff appears on every other show, and it's cute, but it's kind of annoying as well. Clefairy, it wasn't overexposed. So, definitely Clefairy is one of the best normal type Pokemon, and one of the best well-designed characters. Alright, number 8. Magikarp. Oh snap. Now I wonder... Alright, so, I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are probably like, well, what is Magikarp doing in a top 10 best characters? Here's the thing. When you think of the weakest, lamest, most useless Pokemon character, who do you think of? Magikarp. I mean, Magikarp is the quintessential zero Pokemon. He doesn't really matter. That Pokemon is basically useless. He almost has no function except it's, you can train it and make it evolve into a much more powerful Pokemon called Gyarados. And its main function is to basically be that useless, a very lame kind of terrible Pokemon that nobody ever wants to use in a real battle because he's got no moves except for Splash. But honestly, that's why he was made. That's his function. That is the reason why he's made, is to be useless. So the fact that it's so good at it, the fact that it works so well, it's such an effective useless Pokemon, and its iconic sort of useless fish gimmick has lasted so long, and even Game Freak and Nintendo remade, they tried to remake this Pokemon and made a rip-off copy called Feebas in the later generations, is a testament to the overall importance, or at least well-received design of this character. Alright, number 7. Snorlax. Oh yeah, Snorlax, that fat, bloated tub that's always sleeping. Well, Snorlax is basically the fat Pokemon. And it's not just fat, but it's very lazy, and it doesn't really like to do much. Here's the thing with Snorlax. When you think of a fat, you know, I don't even really want to, you know, be mean about this, but when you think of a fat, you know, person or a fat creature or something really round and chubby and fat, like especially on YouTube, it's become kind of like a meme where people would say, "Oh, wild Snorlax appeared," when they see a really fat, round person. Well, it all comes from Snorlax. Snorlax is the iconic fat, round Pokemon, and he represents all that. He started all that, and it's like when you think of a fat, round thing, it's Snorlax. Not to mention that the character itself, it's a well-designed character, good color scheme, very powerful. It's a very strong type of... It can be a tank, you know, a very strong tank. So, Snorlax, really good character. Alright, number 6. Scyther. That's right, Scyther. One of the best bug Pokemon, if not the best bug Pokemon of all time. It is just a powerful Pokemon character. First of all, it's a single evolutionary. It doesn't really evolve into any other Pokemon. I mean, maybe it has a younger form in the later generations. I don't know. I don't play much of the later editions. But certainly in the original 150, it had a very good cult following, and people really wanted to get the red version, and I think that's why the red version of the game was more popular than blue, because of the exclusive, which was Scyther. You couldn't find Scyther in blue, and you were left with other bug Pokemon. So Scyther is a praying mantis looking character, but it also has like these sharp claws, and it can fly. It's got these wings, and it's like a mix between a dinosaur, like a raptor, and a bug, a praying mantis, and it's a very cool looking Pokemon. Alright, number 5. Mewtwo. Oh, snap! Mewtwo is one of the most powerful Pokemon of its time. It was the strongest Pokemon in the original 150. And the thing with this type Psychic Pokemon was that it can destroy anything, anybody pretty much, and really it was a very powerful, overwhelmingly overpowered type of Pokemon. Actually, it was so powerful that it was banned in some tournaments, and I think in later games it got a little bit more even because of the introduction of types that were better against it, like the dark types, and the fact that it was powered down a little bit. Mewtwo was powered down. I think they took down its special defenses, if I'm not mistaken, in the later games. But still a very, very powerful Pokemon, you know, a single type Psychic attack from it, especially the move itself called Psychic, is a very damaging, you know, attack. You know, it's probably the last Pokemon that people ever caught, usually in the games, because the only way you can capture it was after beating the Elite Four. So, very powerful, very iconic Pokemon. Alright, number 4. Miltank. Ah, yes, Miltank. Not a lot of people like to talk about Miltank that often, but Miltank is a very cutesy type of character, but it's also really powerful. You know, I always saw it as an adorable, like, cute Pokemon, but it's also really... It really is a tank. I mean, Miltank is a powerhouse. I think it's pretty much up there with Pokemon like Tauros in terms of strength, in terms of speed, and it's got that tank nature. It's got that, you know, offensive stats, and it's got that really strong foundation, you know, and it's a basis character. It's a single evolutionary, just like Tauros and, you know, characters like that. So Miltank is a very fun character too. I like its character design, a well-designed, you know, cow Pokemon, really. I find it very hilarious. It's just a really funny, you know, humorous, comedic type of character, and you know, I really dig Miltank. You know, it can be a really powerful, you know, strong Pokemon as well. You know, if you really level it up and take your time with it. All right, number 3. Squirtle! That's right, Squirtle! Ah, yeah, now Squirtle is a very adorable Pokemon. It's probably the most cutest Pokemon in my opinion, and it's just very charismatic. Out of all these characters, Squirtle is probably the most charismatic out of them all, because, first of all, he's got a cute little voice, you know, that Squirtle, and he's funny. You know, he reminds me almost like, you know, Krillin from Dragon Ball Z when he was younger. Yeah, kind of like that. He was almost like a funny, jokey type of character. You know, he was comic relief. I always found him the most charismatic out of the original 3 first generation starter Pokemon, like Charmeleon, Bulbasaur, Squirtle. I thought Squirtle was probably the, you know, he was like the most charismatic. He was the most likable. And even in the anime, where he really shined in the anime, that's where he was really like a draw. You know, he was a good character. He came across on screen as this really likable, funny character. Alright, number 2. Pikachu. Ah, yeah, this yellow mouse Pokemon. Well, it's an electric mouse, and it's a very iconic design, a character design, and it really is the most popular Pokemon of all time, because it is the most highly pushed, it's the most iconic, it's the most recognizable, and Pikachu is that Pokemon. You know, when you think of Pokemon, you think of Pikachu. When a general fan or a general person walking down the street who doesn't really know much about anime or the video games, they probably think of Pikachu, you know, when you mention Pokemon. And Pikachu is probably the most exposed character on the show. In the anime, you know, he's in every single episode. And it's a really well-known Pokemon, so there's no doubt that out of all these characters, when you think of Pokemon, you just think of Pikachu. And he's been parodied in TV shows like Drawn Together and stuff like that. So, you know, Pikachu, actually, I think it's more of a Raichu, but, you know, Raichu is a similar kind of thing anyway. You know, Raichu is a cool character, but Pikachu is, you know, in terms of just iconic status, it's up there as one of the most recognizable video game characters of all time. Alright, and number 1! The most best top Pokemon character of all time. Charizard! Oh, snap! Charizard is a type fire and flying Pokemon. And he evolves from the Charmeleon, which was, it comes from the Charmander, first, you know, starter Pokemon. Charizard was the poster boy for Pokemon Red, and so he was one of the original, Pokemon games, starter Pokemon. Him alongside Blastoise and, Venusaur. So anyway, Charizard was highly sought after. A lot of people wanted a Charizard, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people wanted to train him because he's a dragon. He looks cool. You know, he's a dragon with wings and he can breathe fire and he just looked really charismatic. I think in the show he had a bit of an attitude, you know. He was kind of I think the way that they used him in the show was interesting. He was a very defiant character, and he didn't really follow Ash's orders, you know. He was very dismissive and he was always going against Ash. And so this ultimately led to Ash not winning the tournament in his very first tournament in the Pokemon League. So Charizard was definitely one of the most popular Pokemon of all time. His Pokemon card alone in the original Pokemon trading card game by the Wizards of the Coast back in the 90s was worth like $120. And I think to this day, you know, a mint copy of that shiny, you know, Pokemon card is still, it still fetches pretty high. So Charizard, one of the best, as a matter of fact, it is the best, the top Pokemon character of all time. Alright guys, so that's it for this episode of the Review Space, and well, let me know what you guys thought of this list. Did you agree with it? You know, which ones did you agree upon? Which ones did you disagree with? And which Pokemon did you think should be in this list, should be in the top 10 Pokemon characters of all time? So, thank you for watching. Make sure that you comment, rate, subscribe, favorite, add as friend, all that good stuff, and check out the rest of the channel and the reviews. And until next time, ciao!